Stan, good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us again. Blackhawks Media, if you have questions for President of Hockey Operations and General Manager Stan Bowman, please click the raise hand function and we will begin right away with Tracy Myers from NHL.com. Tracy, please go ahead.
Hey, Stan, thanks for doing this. One of two questions. First of all, with your new trade acquisitions, what's the plan here going forward? I know that taxi squad first, but what's the little bit more of a long-term plan?
Yeah, well, the taxi squad is just because we got to get them to our team and available for our roster before they're on the roster. But we want to have them join us. We're working on that as we speak, with whether we can get them to Columbus to join us on the road. Hopefully that's the case. But with the the quarantine restrictions, maybe see if they could drive there rather than fly. So we're sorting through that. But the plan would be for them to join us on the road trip, and then after that, talk to the coaches and see where they fit in the lineup. But don't really have that answer yet, but we do want to get them with our team on the roster soon.
Next question will come from Mark Lazarus with The Athletic. Mark, your line is active. Please go ahead.
Hi, Stan. You talked about how you were wary about maybe bringing on veterans with term. What is it about Brett Connolly that's a little different there that you think he can add to the team?
Well, I think, Mark, what I meant there was, maybe longer term or bigger ticket players. I think, Brett's contract, I look at it as a manageable amount for, he's been a pretty consistent goal scorer in the league. And not so much this year, but, his role hasn't been that consistent this year. But, looking back at his last couple of years and in particular, he was pretty good contributor to a Stanley Cup winning team in Washington. He adds some size to our group, which we don't have a lot of at the moment. And I think that's something that it's never a bad thing. He's got a great shot. He's a goal scorer. He's one of those guys that doesn't need a lot of opportunities, got a really good release. So we think that he's someone that can fit in with this group. So, from that part of it, wasn't too concerned about his contract. And I think it was really the combination of what we saw in Connolly plus the other pieces, which was pretty attractive to us.
Speaking of that, with Borgstrom, what do you know about him? How much have you seen him? How much have your European scouts told you about him?
Yeah, well, I noticed Henrik quite a bit back when we had Ian Mitchell and at the time it was Blake Hillman. They were at Denver, and I was going to scout those guys frequently back then. And anytime you would go watch Denver play those days, Henrik was a dominant college player, like one of the best college players I've seen in the last 10 years. Really high-end skill, and he did it all in college. And he seemed destined for greatness in the NHL, and it didn't happen right away for him. I think sometimes that's the case for young players, is that there's an adaptation to the NHL, and he had pretty good season in the American League, and then last year never really found his way there. So I think when you look at his best game, it's pretty impressive. And this year as well, we've been watching him this year in Finland play, and I think his skill set's very noticeable. He's big, tall kid, long arms, and good reach. He's got the frame, athletic body, skater, hands. He can do a lot of different things with the puck. So we think there's tremendous upside. Obviously, he has to turn that potential into reality, but he's the kind of player you get excited to work with, and we certainly want to do that next season with him.
Next question will come from Scott Powers with The Athletic. Scott, your line is active. Please go ahead.
Hey, Stan, with Riley Stillman, he kind of falls in the same age as a lot of your defenseman prospects. Does he play a different enough game where you guys felt like he could be added in that, join the logjam of some of those younger defensemen?
Yeah, Riley was a big part of this trade too. I think if you watch him play, he's a different style than almost all of our young defensemen that we have. He's in that same age bracket, and he doesn't have a lot of NHL experience, but I thought it was impressive last year when he came in, breaking into the league. He played almost over 19 minutes a night, which is a pretty heavy load for a young defenseman. I think he showed a lot of promise. The biggest thing with him is his competitiveness, his aggressive style. when he's on the ice, he's on the ice. He plays hard. He takes pride in the defensive part of the game, which I think is something that is important. Clearly, you want to have players that can make plays and join the rush and create offense, but I think you have to have some defensemen that really are stable defenders and penalty killers and bring a little bit of that competitive spirit. And Riley's that way. So I think it's a really nice compliment to our young defensemen that we have here. So we're trying to build that group up, and sometimes you have to take some different styles to put it together to make your team effective.
With these 3 additions and maybe Taves coming back, Nylander, you add in Reichel. Do you feel like you're shaping the team for next season? Do you see this roster, some of this being projected, a year 2 out?
I would say so, Scott. I think we talked about this months ago, and this year was important to try to build and try to give young players an opportunity. I think we've been able to do that this year, and I think we've seen several young players really show that they may be even ahead of where we had predicted they would be. So that's part of it. But on top of that, we want to try to bring in a little bit more depth around the players that we have currently here. You've mentioned a few of them. I think Reichel's had a great year, and certainly with Borgstrom and Stillman coming in, we're looking to have more options for our coach. And I think when you have more options and you have more players, there's more competition. I think you're going to bring out the best in the players, the new players, as well as the players that are on our team right now and that are going to be playing tonight. They're going to look around and see suddenly we've got some really good players that are around me that are looking to get in the lineup. And I think that's also good. That's part of taking your team to that next tier, is the internal competition and having more depth. So we certainly have that now, and I think we're still looking for more. We're still trying to build it up. That's when you have a chance to have your team move forward, and become a better team.
We'll next go to John Dietz with the Daily Herald. John, your line is active. Please go ahead.
Yes, when it comes to Borgstrom, is it get your guys' expectation to sign him as soon as their season is over?
Yeah, we're looking to sign him for next year. He won't be here this year, but whether the contract happens, in the next little bit or in the next month or two, timing is not really that important. But we expect him to be here next year, not this year.
Okay, and then just in a big picture, I guess, or you find yourself in kind of an odd situation. I don't know if you thought you'd be here on the cusp of a playoff, spot right now. You're trying to build for the future, but also, obviously, if you guys make a decent run down the stretch, you could get some valuable experience for everybody that's on this roster. So is it a little harder than you thought it would be, or are you just kind of keeping the bigger picture in mind?
No, it's not hard at all. I think it's great. That's what you want to do ultimately, is you want to try to build and develop players, but winning is a great development tool as well. So no, we're looking to win, and we're in a fight to get in the playoffs right now. It's competitive. I think we're right there. There's a couple teams we're fighting with, and we play these teams that down the stretch here. So really, it's in our hands, which is the great news. But I think it's a great position to be in, to be accumulating young players to make your team deeper in the future, but also gaining experience down the stretch now. That's what this is all about.
Question will come from Ben Pope with the Chicago Sun-Times. Ben, your line is active. Please go ahead.
Hey, Stan, when you look at Connolly, I know you were asked about at the beginning, but do you see him as kind of there are some guys out there that were just bad contracts and were kind of not playable. But when you look at him, do you see him as someone that, you're able to get an asset for acquiring, but that could also still turn into a decent player for you guys? Yeah,
well, I mean, he's not even a year removed from 19 goals and 60 some odd games. So, in the year before that, I had 22 goals. So, he's 28 years old. He's a big kid. He's got a great shot. And he was a good player last year. So this isn't like we're not trying to recapture something that was there 5 years ago. I think sometimes this happens around the league. It happens to players on our team, for whatever reason, their role changes with new players coming in, and whether it's their performance or whether it's the other players that are able to do things and they don't get the same opportunity. So, I think Brett's got, the thing he has is it's tough to do in this league, which is score goals. He's got a great release on his shot. and he's a big body. He's a big kid, which we don't have a lot of that. So I think it's a nice situation to be in, to add someone like him and add a couple other assets.
And then do you think this will be it, or are you expecting one or more additional trades between now and Monday?
Well, I mean, I didn't expect this trade or the other trade. I don't think you go into it saying we're going to make 4 trades this week. So we're having a lot of conversations now. I'm not sure if really it's going to materialize into an actual deal. There's a lot of talk between now and the deadline itself. I think it's starting to pick up. You know, I've had several calls today. Probably continue that on over the next few days, and not hesitant to make more trades. But if this is the way it ends for us, that's fine as well. You know, we're not here to just try to get on the board. We're going to try to do things that we think fit in to our long-term picture. And if we can make a move or 2 more, would not hesitate to do that. But it has to fit into that puzzle, which is we're trying to build. And I think we're in a good place now. And we've got some more assets. And if we can do more of that, then we'll look into it.
Stan, thank you very much. Appreciate your time this afternoon. That's all the questions we have for you.
Thank you.